The Discovery, Chapter 17, Time After Time. David closed the door to the kitchen pantry and made his way over to the couch. He held a small bowl filled with strawberries in his hands and sat down on the couch to begin eating just before the front door opened.
David, I'm home!
Midnight announced.
Sweet, I'm over here!
David called back. Midnight made her way over to the couch to find David lounging about with a strawberry in his hand. He smiled brightly upon seeing her.
Strawberry?
David asked.
Oh, sure.
Midnight replied, lighting her horn. David said before placing the strawberry between his teeth and wiggling his eyebrows. Midnight raised an eyebrow before smiling and climbing onto the couch. She brought her chest to his as she crawled over his body and found her place atop of him. David held a wide grin the entire time, careful not to sink his teeth into the strawberry before Midnight could get to it. She brought her muzzle just a tantalizing inch away from his, pausing for a moment as an equally wide smirk found its way onto her face. She waited there for only a moment, before tilting her head to the side and swiping her tongue between David's teeth, quickly stealing the strawberry. A soft moan escaped her maw as she bit into the juicy fruit while David tried to process what had just happened. After the strawberry was well and gone, Midnight brought her eyes back to David to find him pouting.
You were supposed to get it through a kiss,
David said, disappointment evident in his tone.
Oh, you're such a baby,
Midnight cooed.
Well, excuse me
David was cut off by Midnight planting a kiss on his lips. Midnight's tongue darted inside David's mouth, bringing the sweetness and flavor of the strawberry with it. Within seconds, David forgot all about the strawberry, and the passionate dance of tongues they had both become so acquainted with began again. David's hands quickly found themselves trailing Midnight's barrel and heading south.
Not yet, big guy. Tonight, after dinner,
Midnight said, breaking the kiss.
Oh, you're such a tease, getting me all excited and making me wait. I made sure to get the day off from consulting with those engineers just to see you. And I haven't seen hide nor tail of you all day,
David said with a fake pout.
I know. I'm sorry about all that. Ever since Luna had me come back to work, I've been really busy. She's been nice enough to change my hours so that I'll have the evenings with you though, so that's gotta count for something, right? It's all good, Mid. Even if I get to see you once a day, that's enough to make it all worthwhile. Besides, at least you're here for tonight,
David replied.
I know! I can't believe it's already been 6 months since you got here!
Midnight cheered.
And 4 since we started dating. Honestly, where did the time go? I barely remember half of it.
David replied with an amused chuckle.
It's gone by so fast. I kinda want time to slow down a bit, you know?
Midnight said with a sheepish smile.
I know, Mid. Trust me. We'll slow things down tonight, just for you.
David replied with a wink. Midnight giggled and nuzzled David's cheek.
I'm looking forward to it.
David chuckled before kissing Midnight again.
All that aside, where were you thinking of going for our 4-month anniversary / my 6-month arrival-versary?
David asked, upon pulling away from Midnight.
David, we planned this out last week. How do you not remember?
Midnight asked with a whine.
We did? Shit, I'm sorry, I've been really forgetful lately.
David replied with an apologetic shrug.
I'll only forgive you because I love you. I hope you know that.
Midnight said, booping his nose with her hoof.
And I'm the luckiest guy in the world for it.
David replied with a smile.
Alright, but just remember, technically it's still another week before our 4-month anniversary. I don't want you to forget that. Anyways, there's this really nice restaurant called the 3 Tribes that opened up last year. Princess Luna recommended it.
Midnight explained.
Sounds nice. What kind of food do they have there?
David asked curiously.
You really don't remember that conversation at all, do you?
Midnight asked with a frown.
I really wish I did, but I honestly can't remember ever hearing about this place.
David admitted.
Maybe you should go see a doctor about that. You're too young to have memory loss problems.
Midnight chastised.
I know, I will. I just hate doctors. That's why I didn't want any checkups or anything after my, incident.
David said with a frown.
David, you know you can talk to me if you still feel like something's wrong. No one gets over something like that in a day. Memory loss could easily be another symptom of what you've been dealing with. Besides, those therapists had to have been good for something. I know for a fact that you've been sleeping better. No harm in being completely sure, right?
Midnight said with a determined smile.
You're the best, Mid.
David said, pulling her in for another kiss.
And don't you ever forget it.
Midnight said, upon pulling away from the kiss.
I won't. Anyways, back to the restaurant. What kind of food do they have again? Well, it's got everything. It's kind of set up for all races of pony, and it has a few griffin chefs, so if you're feeling like meat, that's an option. I know how much you hate hay burgers.
Midnight said, as she scratched her chin in thought.
Well, that sounds awesome. What time were you feeling like going? I was thinking something like 7-ish?
Midnight said.
Sounds good to me. Are we gonna have to dress up?
David asked.
Well, it's a bit on the more fancy side, but we shouldn't have to wear much. Just something casual. Okay, I can do casual,
David replied.
Good. I can't wait.
David stepped out of Midnight's shower and wrapped a towel around his waist. He walked over to the sink and eyed himself in the mirror, carefully examining his beard and hair. He combed his hair back with his hands and attempted to style it as best as he could. Despite his efforts, he couldn't find a look he liked. He tried again and again, but to no avail. He just looked like a hipster, or a hobo.
Come on, David. Mid deserves better than this,
he said to himself. David glanced down at a pair of scissors laying on the counter. He licked his lips in thought before grabbing the scissors. After a few hesitant moments, David began cutting away at his long hair and scraggly beard. Hair fell away from his face, slowly exposing his features and skin until his hair was reasonably short. He trimmed his beard until it was less than an inch long at any given point. Taking a moment to look in the mirror, David smiled at his handiwork. He wasn't a barber by any standard, but he looked relatively clean and professional. Not to mention, it was the first time he'd cut his hair before. David was roused from his self-admiration by a knock at the door. He quickly opened it to reveal Midnight. Her eyes darted to his face, and she couldn't help her slack-jawed expression.
Yes?
David asked. Midnight shook her head before finding the words.
Sorry, I was just surprised, is all. I didn't think you'd cut your beard. You look amazing.
Midnight exclaimed. David breathed a sigh of relief.
Oh, good. I was worried that you wouldn't like it. I know most ponies like me better with the beard since I look a bit more like a pony, but since this night is all about us, I wanted to look a little bit more professional than, like a hobo.
David explained.
You look fantastic, David. Even if you did kind of look like a hobo earlier.
Midnight said with a snicker. David kneeled down to Midnight's level and kissed her muzzle.
I do it for you,
he said with a wink. Midnight quickly leaned her head forward to catch another kiss before David pulled away and headed out of the bathroom.
Now don't take an hour or two like you usually do. We're gonna miss our time frame,
David sarcastically warned.
Yeah, you just worry about you, big guy. I'll worry about me,
Midnight replied, sticking her tongue out at David. Midnight stepped into the bathroom, and the sound of running water soon filled the air. David began dressing himself with the clothes Midnight had previously helped him decide on for the night. He threw on a pair of jeans and a black t-shirt. He then added a red and blue flannel on top and slipped on his shoes. He took a moment to appreciate his looks, before heading back to the living room and reclaiming his spot on the couch while he waited. Midnight walked down the stairs in a simple black dress. The dress had short sleeves for her forelegs and a hole in the back for her tail to pull through. It was particularly form-fitting around her barrel and hips, accentuating her curves and allowing her hips to sway easily as she sauntered down the steps. Her mane and tail were combed neatly and straightened to her liking. She walked over to the couch to find David fake snoring while he laid on his back. Midnight snickered at the obviously fake snoring before hopping onto the couch and crawling over David's body. She planted a kiss on his lips, which he happily reciprocated. After a few moments, they parted and David opened his eyes. His jaw dropped slightly as he looked over the graphite mare. Midnight giggled, snapping David back to reality for a moment.
Wow, you look absolutely beautiful,
David said with a genuine smile.
Thanks, big guy. You look great too.
Are you sure? I feel kinda undressed now, David lightheartedly criticized.
David, you look fine. Trust me. This isn't even a super classy place. It's in the Middle District.
Midnight replied. Alright, if you say so. But I'd better not end up looking like the only one there who didn't get the memo. Midnight chuckled before kissing David's nose and stepping off of him.
Have I ever led you astray before, David?
Midnight asked. No, you haven't, David replied with a shake of his head.
Well, come on then. It's already 6:30. Luna said this was the best time to go.
David rolled off the couch and made for the door. Midnight opened it for him and ushered him out before closing it behind herself and locking it. They both made their way for Canterlot, the gravel compacting and displacing nicely under their feet and hooves. Imagine getting so hyped up and all it is just like a Burger King or something. Oh, or better yet, a Wendy's. Anyways, let's get on to our fast-paced donators. Top donators: Jessie Smith, Star630, BadassWaffle, Only One Thing, Ceru, Orion, and IronSky. Betchfuck109, JockeTF, Darkseid, Rayden, Narwhals, Blackmoonheart, Pastel, Skies, Olsen, Roland, Stu, Hex, Brother Mordred, Omicron, Library, Grinsat, 9052, Will, Chris, Twinkie, Rysel, Shadowman, Luigi, 88, Chance, Request, Pix, Mook, 369, Bobcat, GGF, Murder Princess, and many more amazing people. Thank you all so much for watching this video, and love life to the fullest.